Hello, thanks for watching. This is Jessie, and this is my channel, The Caffeinated Bookworm. I have officially finished Rabbits by Terry Miles, which I got as an ARC, an advanced reader copy from NetGalley. Again, NetGalley is a wonderful place to go for your ARCs if you are one of those people who like to read them and review them before they come out. I will link the website for NetGalley below. So, Rabbits is not set to come out until June, and I am going to be chomping at the bit until it comes out because this is one of the rare arcs that I have to go buy the book also when it comes out. There have been a few of those in the past, but this one just absolutely, like, my brain hurts from this book, and in a good way. I don't know if you can consider that a good way in any way, shape, or form, but I loved it. So I mentioned before in my previous video, which is done about halfway through the book, how I was feeling about rabbits, and like I said, it gave me an existential crisis, and so I had a hard time remembering everything that I wanted to share with you about this book, and also I'm not sure how much I can share with you about this book. As you know, with ARCs, you are really limited in what you can share because it's not the final copy, and so we don't want to put something out there that's not going to end up in the final copy of the book and cause a ruckus if it's something that's divisive. So I really want to share the introduction poem to it, and I can't, but let me mark it off real quick before I show you this page. So I was going to do a murder wall on this, and murder wall is something that's in the book. Baron has a murder wall before Baron dies of an alleged heart attack. And so, like, I took my kids' yarn, all the yarn that I could find in my kids' art box, and I was going to use it for the murder wall. Now I got to return the yarn because I didn't use it, but I was trying to create it, but I wasn't really certain. Like, I lost my what do you call them? My sticky notes, my post-it notes. I lost my post-it notes, which is where I was going with this on the yarn. And because I lost the post-it notes, it didn't work out. So I have a list of songs that are touched on in the book, and then I have a list of games that are touched on in the book. And of course, since this is a book about a game, there's a lot on there. I have a list of movies that are mentioned in the book. I have some random words that have to do with the book. I have the radio station with the static. I have the doors open, which is the indicator that the next iteration of the game has started, and I have some books mentioned in the book. And I think I told you before that this book has touched on all my geeky stuff. Like, this made my geeky heart happy. Like, my nerd, dork, geeky heart is just overflowing at the moment. As you can see, House of Leaves is mentioned in the book. Oh my God, right? Italo Calvino's Invisible City, Ender's Game. They're all mentioned in the book. I mean, and then you have references to, like, Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeon Master Sally is listed in here. She's not a real person. I mean, she's just a character in the book, but she's listed. I was trying to write stuff down to try to remember to tell you about it. As you can see, like, I went a little crazy with the page. I don't want to be flipping through pages while I'm making this video for you. I mean, but you have references to Torch. You have references to Darknet, Dark Web, Tor browsers, .onion URLs. You have references to 8-bit music on games and 8mm films. In fact, there is an 8mm film that makes an appearance in here, and that's not the only old media type that's mentioned in this book. You have cassette tapes. There's a point where Kay has to go find a cassette tape player to play a cassette that he found in a box at Baron's apartment. There's, let me see, .wave files that have information embedded in them. There's root files that are tapped on phones to find hidden information that was attempted to have been deleted after a phone call. It mentions manifestos, 80s industrial speakeasies. It mentions Dante's Inferno. I didn't put that on here. I didn't put Dante's Inferno on this murder wall. It makes mention of California a lot because there's a player called Californica, and that reminds me of either Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, or I don't know if you remember this, but there was a movie, it was a gaming movie called The Wizard, and it was with, oh goodness, Fred Savage. Um, and it's about this guy takes his brother. He's really good at the arcade games, and he wants to go to California. Anyways, that's what that whole California thing reminded me of. It makes mention of the Knights Templar, the Illuminati. There's a lot of science and pseudoscience mentioned in this book, but it's not all nerdy. There's a Dodge Challenger in here. It also makes mention to baseball and tennis. The protagonist, Kay, when he's nervous, he starts tapping out tennis matches that he's memorized. He starts tapping those out on his thighs. It makes mention to Drakengard. It makes mention to extinct animals. There's a point where an extinct bird shows up where it's not supposed to be, which is kind of along the lines of the plot of the story. There's a lot of the story that takes place in an arcade that's run by the magician. This is it's a worldwide game that blurs all the lines between fantasy and reality, gameplay and reality, dimensions, timelines. It's crazy. Okay, so I mentioned in my last video about this, which was my Friday wrap up. I was talking about it a little bit. So Kay, he hears his parents' friends' daughters talking about a game when he's younger. And that same day, he goes out on a store run for the parents with the daughters, and they get into an accident. One of the daughters dies. He grows up, and he is really, really smart. His parents played a lot of connections and memory games with him when he was a child. He's really smart. He grows up. He gets money from their life insurance policies. He goes to school. He does something. I think he sells something. Oh, because of the patterns things, he makes a lot of money on investments in stock markets and stuff like that. And so he's really not working, but he does do some introduction or presentation type things for people who are interested in this underground game, colloquially known as Rabbits. It doesn't actually have a name. And as we progress through the book, we find the reason why Rabbits was started has a lot to do with ley lines and Meacham radiance. I'm not sure if Meacham radiance is a real thing. I didn't look it up yet. But I have to tell you, like I had Google pulled up through most of the reading of this book because there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to kind of hold against fact to see if it was something that was real or something he made up for the book. It really drags you down into the conspiracy, paranoid frame of mind, and so like as you're reading this, people start dying. There's a lot of these big corporate companies chasing the little guy because they're trying to keep what they're doing secret. And so Kay, his friend Chloe, and their friend Baron start looking into rabbits after one of the alleged previous players, the player who is previously known as Californica, who was allegedly Scorpio, shows up and tells Kay that there's something wrong with the game and that he needs his help to fix it. Otherwise, if the 11th iteration of the game begins, they are, and I quote, ooh, I can't quote. Okay. And I don't quote, well and truly fucked. So they start looking into the game. Scorpio disappears. Somebody from War Games shows up. There's a crazy lady with two disturbingly creepy twins who follow her around. And so after Scorpio disappears, Kay and Chloe really get into it. Something happens with Baron, and so they're just really like falling deep into this game. I don't think that I've ever gotten to the point where I fully understand the game. I understand that it's some sort of underground scavenger hunt type thing, but it's something that has recently begun messing with reality. It is essentially the premise of the book. And so you have things, they make reference to the phenomenon known as the Mandela effect, which is where, it's not just one person who remembers something differently than what it actually is. Like the Berenstain Bears is mentioned, and I personally remember it being the Berenstain Bears. There's no A in Berenstain Bears, but if you look up the Berenstain Bears, it has an A. It's Berenstein, and I remember there being all E's in it. Berenstein. Apparently, it was never a thing, and so what this book essentially posits is that this game has somehow caused rifts in the different dimensions, and so it alleges a multiverse. And so in the multiverses, there's multiple, obviously there's multiple copies of different people, but it's not the type of multiverse that is generally considered, with, if I move this finger instead of this finger, there's going to be two dimensions that kind of branch off. And, if I decide to make this video before I make the Wednesday book deal video, that's not going to cause two separate dimensions. It has to be something that is caused by a traumatic or an intense energy effect that causes these different dimensions to kind of branch out and cause different locations in the multiverse. And there's mention of like I don't really have any other way to explain it except that, no, I can't explain that. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to put too many spoilers here. It is such a good book, and I really want you to read it. Like I said, I'm going to be purchasing this when it comes out in June. Hopefully, it's still set to come out in June. This is also there. Prior to this, there was a podcast. There was an Apple podcast called Rabbits, and it's on PRA. I think I'll have a link below to the Rabbits website. And it ran between 2017 and 2018. And so there's the Rabbits podcast story, and then this is kind of like a continuation of that, if I understand correctly. I haven't listened to the podcast yet, but you bet I am going to be listening to the podcast. And like I said, there's a lot of science, there's a lot of pseudoscience, but there's also a lot of those nerdy references to people who, are roughly around my age, maybe, 5 years younger than me, 5 years older than me. You're going to hit a lot of those points where you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't think I would ever remember that. In fact, when I did my Friday wrap up, or my Flustered Friday wrap up last week, somebody mentioned that they had completely forgotten about the dancing baby, and they never thought they'd ever think about it again. Well, guess who brought it up for you? You're welcome. And there's a lot of that in here. You're going to remember things that you had completely forgotten about. This book, like I said, it made me remember, playing like the alien shooter game, Spirit of Destiny. Who'd have thunk that, some of you remember Spirit of Destiny. I guess it was a bigger game than I thought it was. And stuff like that. Diablo is obviously a big game. I knew I wasn't the only person playing Diablo, because they're still making Diablos, I think. My 17-year-old is obsessed with Diablo, or he likes Diablo anyway. And so, like, I got to the end of this book, and I don't know how I feel about it. It's not bad. I'm not gonna say it's a bad ending, because it's not bad at all. But I don't know how I feel about it. And only because I kind of saw it coming, and especially as you get towards the end, and there's a lot of action, there's a lot of, like I said, there's people who disappear, there's people who die, and the end of the book just, had me like, oh, okay, it's okay ending. But the rest of the book, like from the beginning to, the very end, it was a very well written, well thought out book. There were some issues that I had with the book, but I don't want to put them here only because, again, this was an arc, and I don't want to say the problems that I had with the book and then go back and read the book and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry to the author because, maybe I bashed something about the book that didn't end up making it into the final version. But if you want to listen to the Rabbits podcast, that's something I'm going to be doing. I'll probably, start listening to maybe like one episode a week. They're longer episodes. I don't listen to podcasts that often. That's another one of the things, like audiobooks and graphic novels, that I don't really listen to or read too often. But I'll carve out, the hour that it takes to get through one of the podcasts, once a week and kind of get through that, because I really did love the book. Obviously I got a little obsessy with it. So yeah. Hey, I found a rhyme for Jessie. I'm obsessy Jessie. But I am going to listen to it. And like I said, I'm going to buy the book when it comes out, and I am going to reread the book when it comes out, because I want to see what the author changes in this, if they change anything at all, if they change the ending, if they change the things that I had problems with, some of the things that, were repeated in the book that I felt were repeated too much. Some of the things that I felt really took away from the book in some way or another, and also to see if he added any more nerdy Easter eggs. I don't know how else to call them. Like they're Easter eggs. They're like, oh yeah, I remember that, and oh yes, that's definitely in there. I almost feel like he had a list of things that he wanted to put in the book, and he was just kind of going through the list. And as I was going back to the book, because as soon as I finished the book, I did start over and start flipping through the pages on my phone to see if I missed anything. And so like I did notice that like near the beginning, and I was going to list some of these off. He mentions Dungeons and Dragons, Donkey Kong, Dewey Decimal, Donnie Darko. You see where I'm getting? Like the D's. So to me, like it almost felt like he had a list of stuff that he wanted to find correlations to, kind of pin them together on his own murder wall and make them all come together in a book. And he did a really phenomenal job of it. That's not what I'm saying at all. He did a phenomenal job of it. Like I was making that list, and I just happened to know noticed that there was a lot of those, D's, Donkey Kong, Dungeons and Dragons, Dewey Decimal, Donnie Darko, all mentioned near the beginning of the book. And I was like, I wonder if he had a list he was checking off. And then also Zelda's mentioned at the beginning also. And so I'm wondering if he realized that he was putting all the D's all together, and then was like, okay, let me pull this from the end of the list. And boom, Zelda. All in all, it was a phenomenal book. I mean, I'm going to have to leave a review on this because they do request reviews be left on NetGalley. And so I'm going to leave a review on Goodreads as well. And that review is probably going to be a 4-star review. Why not 5 if I loved it so much and it made me so weird and geek the freak out? Like I said, I don't want to really share the things that I had problems with the book until the final version comes out. I may do another video when it does come out. I probably will because I'm going to read it again. I feel like this is going to be in the vein for me of like House of Leaves and other books, kind of like that. So, highly recommended. I hope that when it comes out, you'll give it a chance. Thank you so much for watching. You have a wonderful day.